Freedom Island. So I thought, that's the worst of it. So if I have to take this bag and just throw it and run, then that's what I got to do. You know, it wouldn't hurt him, but it would surprise him or whatever. So I was kind of holding it in front of me like I came around, and then I passed the door on the side and I didn't realize it because I was trying to go around the back. And then I heard from behind me a man's voice with an accent, and he said, "Hello, may I help you?" Like that. And, you know, I didn't expect it, and he was behind me, so of course I jumped about a foot. And I did drop one of the bags, but it wasn't anything, you know, it was clothes and stuff, so it wasn't a problem that it, you know, hit the driveway, but it didn't cause problems. So I turned around, and there was a man there, and he was about 40, I guess. And at first I thought he was like from India or Pakistan or someplace like that. But then I looked at him more careful and I thought, no, I think he might be from like Mexico maybe. But he was kind of skinnier like. That's why I thought maybe he was from India. He was like real kind of long arms and legs and kind of, I didn't know where he was from. And then I was trying not to look at him funny like somehow there's something wrong with him. But I also didn't know what he was doing in the house. He didn't look like a burglar or anything like that. Like he was obviously doing stuff in the house, and I could smell he was frying bacon, and he had on like a, not apron exactly, but like he had like tied something over his middle to keep the bacon from spatting on his clothes. He was standing there holding a fork, like a cooking fork, you know, to stick in the bacon and flip it over. So I thought, well, alright, I've either got the wrong house or something I don't understand. He said something to me, and I had a little trouble understanding what he was saying, but then he kind of took the fork, and he kind of indicated like going toward the kitchen, and he raised up his eyebrows, and I thought, he's asking me if I want to come in. And I thought, So I said, I'm friends with Vivian. This is her house, right? And he said, yes, it was. And then I said, well, I didn't realize anybody would be here. I knew there was somebody to look after it, but... And he said, well, that was him. And I said, but I thought Vivian said that you had moved somewhere else. I tried not to seem like I was being insulting or calling him a liar or making him wrong to be there, but I just felt confused. And he said, please, something. And I thought about it for a minute, and I decided I would step in. I was bigger than him, and I'm meaner. He looked like he was nice. So I thought, well, if he's just completely trying to lock me in this house like or something, you know, I could see where the basement stairs was at, and I thought I'll just push him down the stairs, you know, I'll just look nice in my face, and then I'll just all of a sudden kind of shove my shoulder sideways, and I'll knock him down the stairs, I guess, you know. But happily, nobody ended up at the bottom of the stairs, and we were at where there was longer stairs that went down to the basement, and then there were shorter stairs, just a few stairs that went up to the kitchen, and he said, I've got to see about the bacon. And I did understand that part. So I followed him up, and he lifted up the pan off the burner real quick, and he said, not burned, good. And I said, good. And then he said, I have got plenty. Please have a meal with me. And I thought, well, I don't know you from anything, and should I be eating things that you give me? Man, I don't even know, and I don't know why you're here. But then I thought, well, it's not like he knew I was coming. Like, here I come up the step. He didn't have time to run in the kitchen, find his arsenic, pour it in the food, run back out and say hello with the cooking fork flipper. So I thought, you know, he's cooking food. That's what I would do. If I was cooking food and somebody came by, I would invite him in. And I looked, and it did seem like he had plenty. Like, he was making eggs and bacon, and he had a whole dozen eggs there, and he'd only took 2 out for himself. So I thought, well, he does have food here. He fixed me a plate, and it was eggs and bacon and black beans and salsa and bread that was like a skillet bread, but it had cornmeal. So it's kind of like cornbread, but more like, kind of like an English muffin, but like cornbread too, or a little bit like skillet bread, like Mom used to make with Bisquick. Well, whatever it was good. So we sat down to eat. He said his name was Evandro, and he said, but you can call me Ev. And I said, do you like being called Ev, or is it because nobody can say your name? And then he laughed, which I thought meant the other, about not being able to say his name. And I said, I don't mind to call you Evandro. I don't know how to roll my R's, though. And he said, I don't roll my R's for my name. So I said, well, that's easy then. And then I told him my name, and then he said, Bethany, I thought at first you were coming about the utilities, but then I looked out and I saw that you had, well, some bags. And then he started blushing a little bit, and I said, you thought I was a homeless person? And he said, well, there's a lot of people that have their things with them. And I said, it's because I've been traveling, and I had a situation at home, and I couldn't really pack a real suitcase, so I just had to bring what I could bring in my gym bag, and my trash bag here was all I could do. And he said, are you in danger? And I said, no, I'm not in danger. Nobody even really knows where I'm at, but I just had to go very suddenly. And he said, that has happened to me and to people in my family. And I said, I see some of your family up there. Are those your daughters? There was 2 girls that I thought surely must be twins, and they had their hair done the same way with those ponytail, pigtails, like where it's like pigtails, but instead of being down like Heidi or Pippi Longstocking, it's more like they're up on their, it's kind of like puppy dog ears. They raised their ponytails on each side so it's up over their ear, and it kind of goes up, and like those ponytails that kind of go up at the back and then fall down. It's very cute. And he said, no, they weren't his daughters, they were his nieces. And then up above the pictures of the girls, there was somebody else, and he said that was his mother. And then there was a crucifix, and I thought, oh, he's Catholic because it had Jesus on there, and it was black Jesus. It was painted, like the cross was painted, and he was painted. I thought, well, he's religious. He's got a picture of his mother. He probably didn't poison the food. He didn't seem like he locked the door. And then I thought, well, while I'm thinking about locks and doors and stuff, I said, I tried to turn my key that I got from Vivian. And he said, I'm sorry, I had to put a deadbolt. And I said, oh, okay, somebody messed with the door. He said, yeah, someone came and they used a motorcycle. I said, not their foot? And he said, no, they took a motorcycle and they backed it up and they were banging the door with the back of the motorcycle. And I said, were they drunk? And he said, maybe. And he said it splintered the door. And I said, yeah, I saw the cracks. And he said, I need to get real piece of metal to put on there, but with COVID you can't get, I said, yeah, you can't get anything in the store. He said, I had to use flashing. And I said, I saw that. You overlapped it anyway. And he said, yes, but the bolt won't go through. They bent the piece, and he was kind of indicating like the piece that that goes across from the one part of the door to the other part. I said, I know what you mean. He said it was bent, so he said all he could think of to do was he had one of them sliding bolts, where you have a barrel bolt, you know what I mean? It's like a little tunnel and another little tunnel, and you put it on the inside of the door, and then you slide it, and you turn it, and then to lock it, you lift it up the little knob that you hold, and you kind of slide it up to where they can't rattle it loose, you know what I mean? So he had to do that. And I said, have you had any more trouble? And he said he didn't even think that they meant to bust into this house, Vivian's house. He said, I think they had the wrong address. He said, I think there was another house that maybe had drugs or something in it. And when he said drugs, he made a face. And I said, yes, I don't like drugs. And he said, Vivian is in the program, you? And I said, yes. And he said, me too. And I said, okay, okay. So he's an NA guy. Food was good, not poisoned. He hasn't tried to latch me in here. He's got a picture of his mother. All right. So I said, well, here's my situation. And he said, you're wondering where you will stay? And I said, yes. He said, I did move, as I told Vivian I would do, but when I got to the new house that I rented, it wasn't safe. They broke out the window and the door, and then they reach in and they turn the lock and let themselves in. Then I put a mesh over the glass. And I said, yes, I know what you mean, the wire mesh. And he said, my English is not perfect. I got it in school. And I said, what did you grow up speaking? Did you speak Spanish at home? Are you from Mexico? And he said, no, I'm from Belize. You hear of Belize? And I said, no. And he said, it's under Mexico, south. And I said, okay, on the coast, he said. And I said, all right. And then I said, but not Spanish? And he said, I know Spanish and English. He said, but my family spoke Creole. And I said, Creole, like in New Orleans? And he said, no, it's not a French Creole. Well, it's kind of French, it's kind of Spanish. And he was laughing. And I said, well, yeah, I guess if you keep going down, you get to down in the Caribbean and all that, farther down. And he said, yes, eventually. And I said, okay, so the French people come up and the Spanish people go back and forth. And he said, or up, and we both laughed. So I said, well, I can't speak nothing but English, and I didn't get good grades in that, so we had to laugh about that too. So I said, no, I can understand you. We're good. He said, all right, so I put the mesh at the new house, and then they broke another window and opened the window latch. Okay, they are not going to stay out. And they took my things, and they took some of the landlord's things. And plus, I don't know if I'm asleep, what will happen. And he kind of made a little thing with his finger in his throat, like somebody's cutting his throat, And I said, yeah, I understand. And then he said, I did not know what to do. So I came back here, and I knew Vivian had someone coming. So I have moved all my things down in the basement. And I have a hot plate there, and I have a little refrigerator. He lifted up his hands to show me, and I said, like one of them little box ones? He said, yes, like a box. And then he looked worried, and he waited. And I said, you don't want me to tell Vivian? And he said, I feel bad. I told her I would take care of this place, and I gave my money for our first rent and last rent, and the current rent to the new place, but I can't stay there. They won't give my money back. And I said, did you tell them it was being broken into? And he said, they said I did it. I said, you did it? And he said, that's what they said. And then I said, could you call the And then as soon as I said it, he looked really worried. And I said, oh, you don't have all your papers, do you? And he just shook his head, very small shake. But I said, so you can't get the police, you don't want ice or anything. When I said ice, he just looked like he was going to faint. And I said, don't worry, I'm not going to say anything. And I said, I don't know what to do about telling Vivian because, we're not really friends, but I know her from the program. And he said, I will tell. Just let me tell her. Just give me a little time. The next thing I have to do is to not have the electricity shut off. And I said, oh, because you moved. And he said, yes, but I did not change over the names on the utilities. And I said, because you don't have all the papers you need. And he said, exactly. And I said, okay, I understand. And then I said, you thought I was coming to turn off the electric? And he said, I was afraid. And I said, are they coming any day now? And he said, yeah. And I said, they probably don't know when. And he said, no, it could be today, it could be tomorrow, it could be in a week, it could be never. And I said, yeah, everything's a mess now. And I said, but then if they turn it off, no heat, no lights, no refrigerator, no stove. And he said, yeah. And I said, no hot plate, no little box refrigerator. And he said, no. So how much is owing on the utilities? And he said, $200. And I said, is that just the electric? What about heat? And he said, it's electric heat. So I said, just $200 for everything? And he said, yes. And I said, I'll tell you what, I will pay the electric company. So I said, all right, how about if we go to the electric company tomorrow and I will pay $200 to keep it on. And I looked at him and he looked like he was about to cry. And I said, well, it would cost the place I was staying at was a terrible motel, and it was $60, and that was with all the discounts, so $200 if I had to stay and pay somewhere, and then pay to get back and forth and so on. And he said, I can't believe you're here. I said my prayers. And he looked at the picture of his mother on the wall. He said, I never prayed like my mother told me to, and I didn't know if God would listen. But I said a prayer, and here you are. And I said, well, I'm not sure God sent me. And he said, you're here. And I said, well, for whatever reason, I'm here, you're here. So we'll go, I don't know where the electric company is. And he said, we can pay at the grocery. And I said, oh, at the customer service? And he said, yeah. So I said, all right, that's a good plan. All right, thank you for the food. And he said, I have my sleeping bed fixed in the basement. And I said, were you sleeping up here in one of the bedrooms? And he said, yes. And then I said, is it dark and cold down there? And are there bugs? And he looked, he laughed and he said, yes. And I said, I think it'll be all right. I'll take the other bedroom. And which one is yours? And he said, well, I wasn't here. And I said, you can take that. Is the other one ready for me? And he said, oh, yes, I have it all ready. I washed the bedspread. And I said, well, thank you. That was nice of you. And I thought, well, what would my mother say? What would my brother say? To say, well, here I am paying the electric bill from somebody that I never saw, that is some friend of Vivian's whose last name I don't even know, in Detroit, Michigan, where I know somebody. And now I've told him I have $200, so I suppose he could knock me in the head and take it. But he didn't look like a knocking people in the head kind of person. So he and I washed the dishes. And he said, I'm so glad to have hot water. I was afraid they would turn the electric off. And I don't like to wash dishes, but I especially don't like to wash them in cold water. And I said, not me either, and I've had to do it. And then he said there was NA meeting in the church basement. He said, no bugs in that basement, and we both laughed. And he said, did I want to go to NA with him? And we walked down there, and there was coffee, which I can't drink at night, but he had some. And we had a meeting, and that was good. And we came back, and I thought, well, now it's just like a situation comedy, isn't it? Like, who's the boss? Only I don't know who's the boss, really. So now here I am. I'm sitting in my place, and I've got a shoulder bag. I can put my laptop in that. It's a little notebook computer, so it's not very big. And my smartphone goes in my pocket, and I got my wallet, and I'll leave the rest of my things here. Evandro was embarrassed that he doesn't have a car, but I didn't see a car in the driveway, so I didn't expect him to drive. And we have to take the bus over to the grocery store. And he said the grocery store was not in a very good neighborhood, but he said we'd be together, and it was easier if two people go together than one. And I said, you know, that sounds like where I live. So here I go on my bus adventure, and we're going to get bananas. We agreed we'd go do a little bit of grocery shopping after we get the electric paid. I hope they don't come and turn it off. Not sure you could really leave a note saying we're at the grocery store paying the bill right now. That just, I don't know if I would believe that if I was a utility worker. So I don't think we're going to leave a note or anything. We're just going to hope it stays on till we get back. And we're going to get bananas. We agreed on that. And Cheerios. We both like Cheerios. I think he's kind of scared to live in here by himself because of the motorcycle and the crash in the door. And I don't know if I look like a tough character and like I can protect him. I'm not sure. But he was very polite this morning, and he asked me if I wanted to use the bathroom first, and I showered. And I thought about whether I should bring my things in the bathroom with me, but I thought, well, that's going to ruin the computer, all the mist and the moisture. And I thought he could have snuck in while I was asleep if he's about stealing my things or whatever. So I just left everything, and it was fine. I think he's fine. I'm fine. He was scared and by himself. I was scared, and I've been by myself for days and days. We both like Cheerios. Will the motorcycle people come back and smash open the door again? Because I'm not sure even the two of us could really fix that door. I don't think there's enough flashing to fix it if they smash it open again, but wherever I was, how safe would I be? And if I was here by myself, I would definitely be more scared. I knew I would feel scared when I came here, so I guess I'm not no worse off. It's just been an adventure after an adventure, and I don't know what to think, but I guess he'll trust me and I'll trust him. I guess if he's not trustworthy, or he suddenly decides I'm not trustworthy, or whatever, I've got a return Greyhound ticket to come back to Indianapolis. I don't want to come back to Indianapolis really, but I'm going to have to get some kind of life plan. And I do have a ticket back, and it's in a little snack-sized Ziploc baggie, and it's in my bra. And that's where it stays, except for when I'm taking a shower, and it's under my pile of clothes while I shower. So as long as I always know where my wallet is, and I always know where that ticket is, even if it just all goes to pieces, as long as I got my ticket back and my wallet and stuff, even if this turned out to be the most worst adventure anybody ever got themselves in, I did try very hard to try to keep crazy Uncle Boyce and his crazy friends from ruining the whole country. And at least I can say I tried very, very hard, and it was just too hard for one person to do. All right, well, I'm going to close this up. It takes a minute for it to cycle around and shut all the applications and the programs and everything. And I want to get it in my shoulder bag and get ready so we can get on the bus and go to the dangerous grocery store and see if we can fight off the thugs and ruffians and pay the electric bill and get some bananas and some Cheerios.